Good evening and welcome to Bishop One Church of England School. I'm Mr Aldridge, Head Teacher, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this evening to our Year 9 Parents Information Evening. Last week we welcomed your child back to school fully following our partial closure in March. I've been really impressed with the way this year group has returned and the way they've adapted to all the new systems and routines that we've put in place to keep them safe at the school. Now, Year 9 is an incredibly important year in the secondary school educational calendar. It's the formal end of Key Stage 3, and for some subjects it's the start of the Key Stage 4 programme and GCSE subjects, such as Maths, English and Science. But it's also the year that your child will choose the GCSE subjects in which they hope to specialise in Year 10 and 11. Now this week, formal routines are back in place, and after 2 days it seems like we've always operated in this way. But this autumn term, it's even more important that students engage in all of their lessons so that we can support them in their return and begin to give them guidance and support them as necessary. While there have been huge national concerns regarding the return to school, attendance has been very high in this year group, and the excellent attitude to learning really has been exemplary. All lessons have restarted, and while it's not been possible for the students to use every specialist area of the school, they have been studying the full timetable of lessons. Now, I'm not very keen on the word catch up, as I know how hard and diligently students have worked well away from school. But we will also begin to start looking at learning gaps in the weeks ahead and inform you of our plans as they develop across the year and as they are appropriate for your child. Now, it's now our job in partnership to ensure we keep this excellent start to the academic year going and keep the enthusiasm for learning that I've seen this week, so we can begin to discover academically where your child is and how we keep moving forward. Now, in school this week, we're focusing on our Bible verse from Thessalonians. Encourage one another, and so building each other up. Now, this verse served us incredibly well during the summer term, but this time we're going to be using it to celebrate and share the positivity of the year ahead. No one in our lifetime has experienced a pandemic on this scale, and your child will be completing their education during this time. It will live long in our memories and long in their memories, and there will be difficulties ahead. But it's important this year, as always, to focus on the positives and build on our strengths, encouraging one another to succeed and overcoming any adversity that may be put in our way. Obviously, this year our home to school communication is going to be different, and we will need to change as we move our homeschool communication online. It is our intention to run virtual events wherever possible, and more information will follow throughout the year. While different, these sessions show our shared commitment to your child's education and will help us to communicate effectively. If I could also ask you to please look out for our weekly briefing, which includes an update from me on our changes and protocols on a weekly basis, alongside information from each key stage area of the school. Now, to maximise the learning opportunities, we adapted our school calendar so all students could return early this year, and that's put us in a position where we're able to communicate with you this evening. Now, Mr Dixon and our new head of year for Year 9, Mr Jardine, will be leading you through the information evening tonight. Then they will provide an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you may have about the year ahead or about what we've put in place so far to support your child here at the school. Together, we need to work to ensure that your child is able to achieve their God-given potential here at Bishop One. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this evening. I really do look forward to welcoming you again in the future and do hope you enjoyed this evening's event. Thank you once again for attending.
Good evening and welcome to the Year 9 Parents Information Evening. Apologies about our slightly delayed start. We just had a few technical issues which we're hopefully resolved now. I would like to start the evening before any further with the school prayer. Loving God, whose Son Jesus Christ is a companion and friend, on our journey to be more like him, grant us patience to grow, endurance in difficulty, and courage to walk the way of compassion and peace. Amen. I'd like to pass over to Mr Jardine, who will be leading us through most of our evening now. I will chip in at various parts, but we look forward to picking up your questions later on. I'll hand over to Mr Jardine now. Thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us for the Year 9 Information Evening. I have the great fortune to be sitting here as the new head of year for Year 9, having obviously benefited from the great foundations that have been built by Miss Riley and Mr Collins. Throughout this evening, we'll try and give you all of that key information that I know that you're looking for, but we'll also try and cover any questions that you may have at the end. First of all, welcome back. We've been able to actually welcome all of the year group back earlier this week and last week, and it has been fantastic to see them all back as part of our Bishop One community. They've had a really strong start, and it's great to see that they're enjoying and engaging in their learning again. This year is a big year, and we're starting on our steps to success, because at the end of this year, we take that big plunge into GCSE. But we need to remember that that's not a straight line. It's going to take a bit of work from here to the end of the year. We will curve, we will divert, and we will find the best route for each student. There are several options for us to take, and ultimately, we can start making those ripples for your future. All we've got to do now is to decide which light to turn on, which future to light up. But there is no rush. Right now, we want to get back into the scheme of things. We want to set up those routines and get all students feeling comfortable, happy, and engaged back here at Bishop One. But however difficult it's been, 2020 is still the year of endless opportunity. We have the opportunities to make a success with every individual. And here at Bishop One, we want to be there to help guide all of our students through that process. On the right here, you'll see that there is a bit of a breakdown on how our options process will work. We'll have some assemblies, we'll show students all of those options that they have at GCSE, and we'll help guide them through the process to get them onto the right courses. It's a long-winded process, and it does change all the time, but those students will end up right where they need to be. Just a quick one for us in terms of some key dates. The inset day on the 25th of September is not far away. Students won't be in school, so they'll be at home doing all those key things, hopefully making themselves useful around the house. But after that, we'll be back and we'll finish off our half term starting in the week commencing the 26th of October. The dates after that could be subject to change if necessary, but hopefully they will not. Key point, we've been able to retain all of our fantastic year team. The form tutors know your students, they know their form groups, and they are your first point of call. Their email addresses are located there, and I've got my email address there as well. Should you need anything or have any queries, please do contact them as quickly and efficiently as we can. They are there to support every student, and that's what they want to get through. The communication aspect needs to be at tip-top shape this year. We want as much information as possible. We are here to help, we want to support, so getting that information forward to your form tutors and then on to myself, Mr. Dixon, or whoever else needs to know is really, really key. And our attendance should still be as high as possible. We are striving for 100%. We want students to be resilient, but this year, obviously, that comes with the caveat of COVID-19. We need to make sure we're keeping ourselves aware of any of those symptoms. If we're showing any of those, then we need to stay off, get a test, and then we want to get students in as quickly as possible, as soon as time allows. We will set work for those that are going through that process as well, so that they don't miss anything whilst off. But the big fact is that attendance has a huge effect on outcome. Our punctuality to school is also important. For every 5 minutes that you're late, if that adds up each day, it will end up with 3 days of the year. That's a lot of school to miss, and it will mean that the students don't necessarily engage and get what they could from us. Around the school, students will see that there are lots of signs and lots of help points. We've got hand washing stations, hand sanitising stations, both in the corridors and also in every classroom, and the signs for where students should be going are there as well. We've got our sharing is not caring and our 2-metre rule, trying to remind students of the importance of social distancing. We've got these signs there to try and help students the whole way through, but reminding them at home as well as at school will help to keep them nice and safe, healthy, and here at school. I'll now pass over to Mr. Dixon for the behaviour for learning. There we go.
Thank you, sir. Students have come back brilliant, really proud of all our students, and thank you for that support, getting them here with the right uniform and all those basics and equipment which will come through in a moment. So This year, as Mr. Aldridge already inferred, it's all about encouraging one another, building each other up. We have such high aspirations for our students, and we know you do too. And together, if we work together to do this and work together to work with our students, they will be successful. We ask them simply just to follow those instructions straight away and work with us to make sure they're focused on their learning. The learning comes first, and getting those students into class, good attendance, quickly into class, focusing on what they need to do. We will move very quickly with them. We are asking staff and students to speak with calm and measured manners, using that appropriate language, being considerate. It's all about respect. This term is about respect, respecting each other, respecting staff, respecting the school rules that we have at the moment, and together that will be a very smooth way. We know there's a lot of change in protocol, and some students are struggling with those changes in protocol. They will fall into patterns as they start the next week. They will start to become familiar, and they'll be confident with them as we move through that. So well done to our students. Lots of praise to them, because they really are working towards that, and if we work together to make sure that consistency is there, it'll be much appreciated. There will be detentions. I'm just going to flag that here. I'm hoping none of our students get detentions, but I suspect there have been and will be a few. They're going to be held in your bubbles to maintain that social distancing. At the moment, there are the next day, but we do hope to move towards same-day detentions where possible. Obviously, the students catching a bus, or they've got to go to an appointment, or picking up a sibling from the local primary school, then of course we'll be negotiate with them and delay that for the day if as need be. Easiest way is don't get the detentions, and then we won't have to negotiate anything. We will be expecting those restorative conversations to move those meetings on and making sure that students are doing the right thing. Right, back over to Mr. Jardine for the uniform and beyond.
Well, the nice easy thing with our uniform is that it is very much the same. The key things that we want to be doing is making sure that students are wearing the right uniform at all times. Let's not roll up those skirts at all. Let's make sure the boys are in black or grey socks. But largely, we are seeing that students are doing just that as we're returning. We do appreciate that it's been difficult necessarily at times to get all of that, so your support in making that possible for students is really, really appreciated. The one thing that we want to really focus on is gum. Chewing gum is a big no-go for us this year because it counteracts some of the key points that we're doing in terms of the risk assessment to reduce those COVID issues. Everything else at the moment is going quite well with our uniform. I would just stress, let's keep them going. They're doing a good job. Let's make sure no chewing gum and skirts unrolled. Form time is also still quite a similar process for last year, but it is staggered across 2 form times. In the morning, our registration also takes into account handing in phones. They are then locked away and secured for the day to make sure they are safe. We will still do things like our equipment check for Pure. We will still have assemblies, but they will be distance assemblies, much like we're doing this evening. Our Pure check has grown. We had asked that as much of that is in there as possible. If there are any bits on that equipment list that students are really struggling with, then please do let your form tutor know, and we'll work with you to make sure that we're supporting as much as possible. Plagiarism is also one of our key policies. That was introduced previously last year, so we're still keeping that going. We want students to know that obviously we don't want any copying and pasting of work. We want them to own that work and to show us where they're going. There's some key points that we can do in terms of preventing, trying to use references, pointing out if there might be a little bit too much copy and paste and what have you. So that's there for you should you need it. Our progress and tracking is also the same. We're going to have one report every term coming out to home for each student. We are still going to have all of the effort gradings that we've had previously, and we'll have the gradings in terms of what students are achieving. That will still work on a red, yellow, green process for 2 or more grades below, 1 grade below, and then meeting or exceeding that grade. Our homework is still the same, so nice and easy for all of our students. That will be 1 per week for all of our core subjects, and then 1 per fortnight for the full timetable for all of our other subjects. Each piece of homework will be around 30 minutes long, Obviously, we don't want students to be exceeding that massively. If they're spending an hour on each piece of homework, let's stop them and find out how we can support making that a little bit more streamlined for them. English will be moving forward with focus on their reading and writing skills, building up all of those key skills for GCSE. They will obviously be working on that throughout the year, looking at different texts, and that Key Stage 3 assessment at the end of the year will be very much framed in the same way as those GCSEs. Our accelerated reader links into that. It will be delayed slightly at the moment whilst we're figuring out logistics with the library, but students should still have a reading book every day. We encourage it. It's an easy way for them to boost their grades across the board. If they are struggling for reading books, we do have a Year 9 small set selection that we can help them with as well. I'll now pass over to Sir again for our mathematics lesson.
Thanks, Mr. Joney. I think we forgot to mention earlier on that all these slides will be sent out to you. We do hope that we'll be able to do a recording of this and post it on our website as well. So all these slides, please don't feel that this information we're racing through that you're going to miss out on it. We will send it out as a PowerPoint deck, and in addition there'll be additional slides within here. Mathematics, as you are probably aware, moves into GCSE for Year 9, and students move either onto the higher or the foundation courses. That won't be decided until the Year 11, so although they may be working at foundation level at the moment, they can move up into the higher, so please don't see that as a dead cert. They're going to carry on with those groups. So work hard and see where you can get to with that, and be in contact with your teacher and of course Mr. Dimitri, who's the head of mathematics, if you have any concerns about that. Maths would like me to highlight the fact that they've got some resources there you can purchase directly from the maths department, so please look at those resources. They'll be available through parent mail, and you can put your purchase in there and they'll be delivered back to you. In addition to that, there is a Hegedy Maths. I hope you're familiar with this. If you're not, please make sure you've got your Hegedy Maths login. It's a really useful resource for students to home learn and boost those areas where they're struggling with. So that Maths department do a great job in gap analysis, identifying those areas where the students struggling, and Hegedy Maths is a great way to plug those gaps where they're struggling. In science, we moved from everyone doing the same science into GCSE in Year 9. So there are two forms of science. It's combined science, which is a double award. It doesn't mean you're not doing all the sciences. You're still doing biology, chemistry and physics. You just end up with a double award over the GCSE. It means 2 GCSEs. They're awarded from 9 9s all the way down to 1 1s. Every student should be aiming for a minimum of a 4-4, and that's the standard pass that is awarded at GCSEs. We set our students in Year 9, and so what you'll find is some students may also be doing the triple or separate sciences. This is called the triple award, where they do biology, chemistry and physics. They're doing it in the same time that those students are doing combined science, so it's a bit accelerated, it's faster. They're doing 3 GCSEs in the time that other students are doing 2. All students who will be doing the separate trilogy science will be likely to do higher tier, not the foundation. And they do tend to be students that are more adept to doing science that will be following that course, and certainly those who may be looking to pursue sciences at A level. The double award is the right award for many students, and don't suddenly think that your child should be doing triple award. Your teachers will advise, and Mr. Yu will be able to support you with that decision if you have any queries. How can you support your child with science? You should have again a login to Caboodle. You should have been using that with Activate in Year 7 and Year 8. The Caboodle login, if you don't know it again, check with your teacher first, or if still struggling, in about a week or so, ask Mr. Griffith and he may be able to help you to log into Caboodle, but all students should be able to have access to Caboodle. But please leave Mr. Griffiths for about the next couple of weeks until everything's up and running, and don't hassle him yet. Last thing from Mr. Jolene, I think.
Yep, so just to clarify a couple of key points for us as well. The bus will be leaving at 2:40 each day, so that's 10 minutes after the end of the second registration period in the afternoon. And from next week, our homework club will be back on. Unfortunately, we'll still have a slight delay before we can get other extracurriculars in place, but homework club will be running from next week. In the meantime, we would ask that students don't cover any of their exercise books with plastic. The reason for that is that plastic tends to hold the potential host for the virus for longer, and therefore to reduce that potential time where it can linger, paper is much better. So it makes sense for us to keep to the paper. If students do need to, in the meantime, decorate those using paper at all, then they can do to make sure that they can differentiate between certain subjects, but we would ask no plastic covering.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We will go to your questions. I'm just going to grab my laptop in a moment because we can try and access the questions there. We may not be able to access them. There's a few questions that were posted in advance of this meeting, so we've already clarified the bus timings there as well. PE days, lesson days, children are expected to carry a PE bag all day. Unfortunately, we don't have access to lockers at the moment. There's not much we can do about that. We are working through the bubbles in school and we need to maintain those bubbles, otherwise we're breaking down our risk assessment. We do appreciate that for some students carrying around PE bag is yet another thing they need to carry. Unfortunately, at the moment, we cannot change that. So bear with us. We will have a look about that as we proceed through this term, but please bear that with us. Lining up in lessons, there's a query about lining up in lessons. We're working through our protocols. We're working well at the moment. The students are doing well. There are a few things that we are flagging, but it takes a few weeks to get everything into place. And as we move through that, I think the students will find it quicker and easier and more comfortable about the classroom arrangements. There was a query about lunchtime arrangements, and again, we review our policies and protocol throughout the year. And we'll take your queries and questions regarding that. Lunch is fairly short, break time is fairly short. We are aware that the getting lunches to you should be fairly quick, and we will increase the speed of those lunches get through to you. We know that lunch is early, but of course you can bring a packed lunch in. That is the other option, so we are available for that. And I think the last question is about girls and boys toilets. With Year 9, that they are unisex toilets at the moment because they are floor-to-ceiling cubicles, so that is absolutely fine. There are no safeguarding concerns there. The cubicles will be labelled boys and girls as well, but they are floor-to-ceiling cubicles. There are no safeguarding concerns. We're very happy with that in the arrangements, and we'll run through with that as it stands. Again, that is a bubble arrangement. If you excuse me while I grab my laptop to try and work out if there's any questions. This is a slight technical hitch we're having at the moment, so we'll need to see what we can find out from there. I'm going to have to say at this stage we are unable to access your questions. Apologies about that. If you have posted a question online, we believe they're coming through, but we're unable to access via this Teams event. Microsoft Teams is playing funny games with us tonight, so we will try and resolve this. If the question's been posted online, during this event, we will put up along with the presentation of this evening, we will put a questions and answers section at the bottom of that. Bear with us for a couple of days to get it up online. We'll send you the link in Mr. Aldridge's weekly briefing with the responses to any of your queries. If anything is urgent, please do contact admin at Bishop One with any of your urgent queries, but I'm hoping that you can wait for a couple of days for our other responses. I really do apologise about our technical glitches tonight. I've been having that with Teams all day, and hopefully they'll be resolved overnight by Microsoft. So I don't believe it's an internal issue, I believe it's a Microsoft issue. Again, thank you for joining us with us this evening. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we look forward to seeing the students back in again tomorrow. Take care and good night.